Time for my September wrap-up. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Zacks Books, and today I'm going to do my September wrap-up for you. I read 4 books this month. I have 3. We had to return one to the library, so you won't see a physical copy of it, but maybe we'll put a picture of it up somewhere. I'm going to say this now. Danielle is holding Maverick, so if you hear little squeaks or suckling noises from a pacifier, that's him. And if you couldn't guess if that was him, I don't know what else it could have been. So yeah, Maverick's behind the cameras. We will link these 4 books down below. We're going to try and link one of them. I don't know if that's it's an odd book. You'll see what I mean when you see it. But yeah, we'll link the 4 of these down below if you're intrigued with any of them. Also down below is the Bookstagram podcast, Danielle's channel. Get Danielle to 1,000 subbies, please. Be fantastic. You can get me to 5. I feel like I'm pretty close to 5,000 at this point. It's been a little while since I've really paid attention to that, but if I'm close, help me get over that hump. Otherwise, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into the books. Alright, the first book up is one that I actually did a book review on already, and if you want to check it out up here. But it is going to be Holly by Stephen King. I'm going to briefly go over this book because a lot of my thoughts are in that video. I finished that book last week, so I've kind of had a week to more kind of ponder it and think about it. I gave it 4 stars. I think I'm going to settle on 3.5. I think I'm going to bump it down a star just because I watched somebody else's review of the book and it made me kind of rethink how I really pondered the beginning of it. This person DNF'd the book. They didn't even finish it. And I came close. But I told Danielle that I need to get over that hump because I need to finish every King book that there is. But once I got over that hump, it was really good. But like I said in the video, the last third of the book is really what saves this. Because there's a lot of COVID talk at the beginning. There's a lot of talk of a certain somebody at the beginning that King is very anti of, that if you don't know, it's very obvious. And the person whose video I watched said, like, it basically, and some other people have said this too, it's basically like reading his Twitter feed, is basically what it kind of felt like at the beginning. Talking about COVID, talking about how much he hates a certain somebody, and it was just very repetitive. And, you know, I said all that in my video, but I'm docking it a 1/2 star just because I more have thought about it. I really just don't like the beginning of this book, and it really sucked. But it was about a 3.5 star ending. So if the beginning part smacked, it would have been a way better book. But in all reality, 3.5 stars is what I'm going to settle on for Holly. So there you have Holly by Stephen King. Next up is the book that is kind of an oddball. It's a Double the Thrills book by Cemetery Dance. It's got A Face in the Crowd by Stephen King and Stuart Onan. And on the other side, it has The Longest December by Richard Chismar. This is not the story I read. I read this one. It's kind of cool though, like flips. This is the story I read, A Face in the Crowd. It's a short little novella. I'm really still kind of pondering my star rating for it. It's a bit of an odd story. I think I'm going to settle on 3 just because I felt like I wanted more from it. Basically, we're following this guy, what's his name? Dan Evers, and he's watching a Rays game. I can't think of the first game that he watches. Rays Mariners. And he sees somebody in the crowd who, like, died years ago, and he's like, what the heck? And then another game happens, he sees another dead person he knows, and then like another game happens, it's like his ex-wife who died, and he's just like, what's going on? And all this weird stuff kind of happens. The ending, I'm not going to say it's predictable, but once you kind of hit a certain point, it's like, okay, yeah, it's probably going that direction. So I thought it was pretty creepy. It was an odd story. It just, like I said, I just wanted more out of it. I wanted a bit more. I wanted more. Otherwise, I really liked it. And it was really odd. And it was an out there book or story. But yeah, no, it was really cool. And like I said, this edition is really weird looking. This is from the library. I'm hoping I can find like an actual edition that I can get so I can add it to my King collection. So, but yeah, there you have A Face in the Crowd by Stephen King and Stuart Onan. Alright, next up is the book that I don't have, so and that is Sherlepena's Everyone Here Is Lying. Okay. I don't remember if I have talked about this book in a video. I don't think I have. I gave this book 5 stars. Probably one of the easiest 5 stars I've had this year. Danielle and I are planning to do a podcast episode. It's going to be on Monday is our hope. Whether that's, I think we're posting this on Sunday. So tomorrow, her and I are going to do a podcast episode, depending on Little Maverick, because he's been a little fussy today. And so we're going to see if we can get that done. But this book is phenomenal. It's in my top 5 books of the year. I don't know where in that top 5 it lands, but it's in my top 5. It is a very solid story. I think Danielle said it might be in her top 10. I don't know if it cracks her top 5. She's read more books than I have this year. My reading goal has been dog poop. It's been a very rough year reading-wise. So, Same. Yeah, I think my goal is 75, and I think I just hit like 40 or 30. Yeah, I just hit 30. I don't think I'm getting to 75. So, and there's little Mavie making his squeaks. So, this book, there's only like one thing I can say to describe this book, and it literally ruins the book. Like, I can't say it, and it's aggravating. Because during the podcast, we're going to say it towards the end when we do the spoiler part, but there's only like literally one thing I can compare this book to, and it's so good. If you've read this book, you probably know what it is, the comparison I want to make. Like, well, at least kind of. Like, some of the characters, like, it's not like an exact copy, but like the vibe, how the book ends up going, and everything like that. It's completely obvious. Like, it's that exact same book, ideally. In this book, we're following this little girl who gets kidnapped or gets murdered. It's like she's missing. Something happens to her. She has an altercation with her father. Kind of in the beginning. I think his name is William. Throughout the book, you kind of notice that William's kind of a prick. But then at the same time, it's like...
He just does dumb stuff.
He does dumb stuff. And he just gets in trouble a lot with certain things. He's having an affair. He not necessarily gets caught, but he gets caught by the police, and so he has to confess to his wife. And he hits his daughter, which causes her to run off or get kidnapped, or something happens to her, which you guys don't know, but obviously I do because I've read the book. But there's a lot of twists. There's a lot of turns. You don't really know what. And it's funny because you find out what kind of happens probably 2/3 of the way through. So the last third of the book, it's like, you know what's going on with her, what's going on with Avery, and like the situation, and it just gets better. So it's very, very exciting. And listen to the podcast. Again, the podcast will have linked down below, because when that comes out tomorrow, we're going to spoil it, but it's literally the same. It's the same story. It's the same book. Like, almost to a T. But yeah, there you have Everyone Here's Lying by Sherlepena. Alright, last up, the last book. Well, no, technically I read The Face in the Crowd last, but I wanted to save this one for last because it's the most exciting one I read this month besides Sherlepena. So, I had 9 King books left after I finished Holly. And since I've been on leave with my child and Danielle, I decided to read a couple more King books than not. So during my leave, I finished this book. I'm going to be starting Black House, as you guys saw in my October TBR. If you haven't checked it out, check it out up here. And probably even more King books is what I want. I got another week left, so I want to try and finish Black House and maybe 1 or 2 more. But before I got to Black House, I wanted to make sure I read The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. I gave this book 5 stars. A lot of people, I feel like, don't enjoy this story. I think what really saves it for me is Frank Muller. He is the guy who does the narrating for books 1 through 4 of the Dark Tower series. And I think he does a couple more King books, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But his narration is so good. it's not a Dark Tower book, but it makes you think it is, just because it's Frank Muller reading the book. So I think that helps me. So this book, we're following this kid named Jack Sawyer, who is tasked to find the Talisman in the territories to save his mother and the queen of the territories, which they're called twinners. So in the territories, the queen is the same person as his mom. Now in the territories and in the real world, what ends up happening is if your twinner dies, you end up dying. For the most part, that's kind of how it plays off. So the queen is sick, his mom is sick, the talisman is supposed to help save both of them. But a lot of stuff happens. There is a sad death in this book. I don't want to reveal who it is, but it's somebody like you meet kind of like a quarter of the way through the book, and then around the halfway point when they're in the sun camp or something camp. It's pretty upsetting. I liked him as a character, and he was really cool and very fun. But makes a sacrifice, and that made it all the better. But like I said, the book is not necessarily Dark Tower related. The atmosphere makes it seem like it is. They mention a train, and I was like, "Ooh, is that Blaine?" And it's not. But I think this is a criminally underrated novel. I think so. A lot of people say Black House is better. I still have to start that book, but this book is really good. I think it's highly underrated. And like I said, because of Frank Muller, I just got the Dark Tower vibes. And he also narrates Black House. So I think that's going to be an even good duo for me. But I'm also excited because in a report, King, I think, admitted he's going to be working on book 3. And do a dedication to Peter Straub. Because he said Peter Straub sent him some stuff. King already had some stuff for book 3, but he said it's going to be 800 or 900 pages. I don't care. I'll read a 1,200 page book if it's got Stephen King on it. Hopefully he gets to it, and hopefully he writes it. After I read Black House, maybe what I'll do is a video with both books, and maybe I'll talk about them both and see what I think could happen in the third book. And we'll have to see. I don't know. If you've read both of them, let me know your thoughts as to see what happens. If they're talking about a third book, I'm going to presume a character survives, but I don't know. But yeah, no. The Talisman, 5 stars. Stephen King, Peter Straub, really solid novel. Alright, so there you have my September TBR. Again, we'll have the 4 books linked down below if you're intrigued with any of them. And also down there is the Bookstagram podcast. Again, check the podcast for the Everyone Here Is Lying episode coming out tomorrow. It's going to be a great video, or podcast, whatever. But yeah, otherwise, what did you read in the month in September? What did you like? What are your thoughts on the books that I read? Do you agree, disagree? Potato, potato. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Later.